We're nearing the end of the 2024 awards cycle, so what films get my approval as the best of the year? Let's find out in the first annual Pop Culture Life Golden Crown Awards. Hey everyone, John Lunsford from the Pop Culture Life, and although this channel is young, my love for movies is not, and I am excited that we finally reached the end of the 2024 movie cycle, and I can now look back on all of the films from this past year and give out my favorite stories, performances, and technical direction across the entire year. Here's how this is going to work. I'm going to give my top 5 options that are my favorite in most categories, and then I'm going to give out a gold crown and a silver crown to the 2 best options in any given category with 3 honorable mentions. Some categories will be similar to other award shows, and some may be unique to the PCL Crown Awards. For Best Film, I'm going to give 5 Golden Crown Awards and then 5 Silver Crown Awards, and then I'll give my 10 best nominees after that. For Best Actor and Actress, I'm not going to be separating lead and supporting. I'm just going to be giving my best performances, period, on the year for actor and actress. I'll nominate my top 7 options, and then I'll give 2 Gold Crown Awards and then 2 Silver Crown Awards. So let's jump right in. First off, there are 19 categories for the PCL Crown Awards. It includes 8 feature awards, which are the ones you typically hear of, such as Best Film, Best Director, the acting categories, etc. There are also a couple of unique awards in there as well. There will then be 6 genre awards that focus on the best films per genre, and then 5 technical awards as well. It may seem like a lot, but we're going to get through them. So here are the categories. The featured awards are Best Film, Best Director, Best Actors, Best Actresses, Best Voiceover Performance, Best Original Screenplay, Best Adapted Screenplay, and then Best Cast Ensemble. For the genre awards, we're going to do Best Animated Feature Film, Best Horror or Thriller Film, Best Film Not in the English Language, Best Action or Science Fiction Film, Best Comedy or Musical, and then Best Romantic Movie. Then the technical awards, Best Original Score, Best Original Song, Best Cinematography, Best Visual Effects, and then Best Marketing Campaign, which I think is an interesting thing to take a look at. I wanted to include some unique categories to recognize some of the best that may not typically fall into an award show category, such as comedies and musicals, and actually make them comedies and musicals, unlike the Golden Globes half the time, and horror films. I'm not a huge horror buff, despite the Midsummer poster behind me, but I know The Substance is getting some love this year, and horror films rarely end up at award shows. So let's dive right in. First off, let's do the technical category. So for Best Original Score, my honorable mentions here are going to be Wicked, which I know it is pulled from Broadway, but there still has to be a score created for the movie, especially a stretched out movie like they did, so I like the score for Wicked. I really like The Wild Robot. The music in it was really good, and the Brutalist score I thought was very, very good, but just missed out on the top 2 of the year. The Silver Crown is going to go to Hans Zimmer and Dune Part 2. I love the score for Dune. It's very unique. I really, really like it, but the award goes to, for the Golden Crown, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross for Challengers. They should have been nominated for an Oscar. They should have won the Oscar, obviously, because that's what I gave it to. But I thought the score for Challengers is really what helped make it, and I'm so excited to see them do the score for Tron Ares coming up this year. Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross, 9 Inch Nails, I think they're some of the best in the game. They've already won Oscars before, so it's not like they're missing out this year and still haven't won one, but I thought the score for Challengers was incredible. All right, moving on to Best Original Song. The honorable mentions here in this category, I'm going to have Beyond from Moana 2. I thought the music in Moana 2 wasn't quite as good as in Moana 1, but I did think Beyond was a good kind of spiritual successor to the main song from Moana. I like Kiss the Sky by Maren Morris from The Wild Robot. It's very good, and I thought it really kind of helped make the movie. Like a Bird from Adrian Quesada and Abraham Alexander from Sing Sing was really good. I thought it should have been nominated for an Oscar. The Silver Crown and runner-up is going to go to Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross from Challengers for Compress and Repress, which is the credit song there right after that final tennis scene when the 2 guys jump on each other and Zendaya stands up and screams. But the Best Original Song this year, and the Golden Crown goes to... I can get it open. Well, I saw the TV glow with Starburn and Unkissed by Caroline Polachek. I thought that song was really good. I thought that movie was really good. It's one that has stayed with me. I think it may be popping up a few more times here on this award show, but I really liked Starburn and Unkissed. It was a great song, a good kind of teenage angst song, kind of had some 90s grunge vibes to it. I really liked it, thought it was a very good song, and that gets Best Song of the Year for me. Next up, Best Cinematography. So a lot of good cinematography this year. For me, if you know me, the technical aspects of film a lot of times are what will help me give higher scores if it's a very good technical film. And that's the case with these 5 films. I'm Still Here, I thought actually had really good cinematography. It's not a big movie. It's kind of a small movie, but I think because of that, that made the cinematography even more impressive inside the house, inside the prison. And then I like the way they kind of interspersed it with the daughter filming on her old school camera. I thought the cinematography was really good, and I'm Still Here. I also love the cinematography in Challengers. I thought some of it would be a little much, but even with the ball going back and forth and watching the volleys in tennis, I thought they did a really good job shooting a sports movie. And then Civil War. I thought Civil War was shot and looked beautiful. I know a lot of people didn't like the story of it necessarily, but you cannot deny the production quality and the cinematography of a movie like Civil War. The runner-up in the Silver Crown is going to go to Nosferatu. I really like this movie. I didn't think I would, but I really liked it. I like the cinematography. It's very similar to The Lighthouse, which also was done by Robert Eggers. And if you have not seen Nosferatu and you're looking for a good horror movie, I highly recommend it. But the best cinematography, the Golden Crown, goes to Dune Part 2. Dune 2 was shot very well, as was Dune 1. This is a movie that I thought just looked incredible. It's a big scale movie that was shot really well, and it definitely wins Best Cinematography here for me at the PCL Crown Awards. Next up, Best Visual Effects. Cinematography is one thing, but can you make the effects look good in the movie? The runners up, I think Wicked. I know some people complain about the color grading in it. It didn't bother me. I thought the way it looked was very good. The mix of production and CGI I thought looked really good as well. The actual like sets they would build, plus some of the CGI looked good. I really liked the way the Emerald City looked as well. So I got to give Wicked a nod here. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, any Planet of the Apes movie nowadays looks really good. The motion capture, the way they do that is really good. And speaking of Planet of the Apes, Better Man. This is a movie that did get nominated for Best Visual Effects, and I fully am behind it. It was actually one of my favorite movies of the year. I thought the way not only did they do the ape with Robbie Williams look good, but just the scenes, and especially the musical numbers, the visual effects in those were incredible. The Silver Crown is going to go to Deadpool and Wolverine. I thought it looked good. Marvel movies, obviously, you know, they do a lot of visual effects and everything, but I thought Deadpool and Wolverine did a really good job, especially with all the jumping around through the void and everything and all the different characters, bringing them in. I thought they did a good job. But then the best visual effects on the year and the Golden Crown goes to shocker. Dune Part 2 is going to get the award here. The cinematography was good, but the visual effects were, you know, just as good as well. And I thought they did a really good job, especially with the big battle at the end. I loved everything about it. Dune Part 2, incredible movie this year, best visual effects. So a little bit of a different look at a category here. I looked at the best marketing campaign. So you're going to see some different movies here that may not typically be nominated for awards. So first off, I'm going to go with Beetlejuice. I thought it actually did a really good job for a movie that's almost 40 years old to have a sequel. It did a good job putting butts in the seats. It made a lot of money and bringing it back a lot of the same cast as well. I think it did a good job with the marketing and ended up being a pretty good movie this year. I'm going to give some credit to Twisters as well. Twisters was just all right for me. I'm not a huge Glenn Powell fan, and I like the original Twister enough, but I do think they did a really good job with social media marketing and getting the cast involved and doing like TikTok trends and stuff like that to get some butts in the seat. I'm also going to give some credit to Deadpool and Wolverine. Disney knew this was a make-or-break film for the MCU, and they had to get people there, and it made over $1 billion and did really well. The Silver Crown, the runner-up, is going to go to the best popcorn bucket of the year, and that, of course, is Dune Part 2. That popcorn bucket has now made it where every single movie feels like they have to do a popcorn bucket, and we got the Deadpool and Wolverine popcorn bucket with Wolverine's tongue, and I mean, we got all kind of weird popcorn buckets, but it started with Dune, and it really was a simple concept that then kind of got turned gross by the public at large. But that kind of started this whole trend of popcorn buckets, and it all started with Dune Part 2. They weren't the first one to do a popcorn bucket, but it really became a thing after that Dune popcorn bucket. And then number one, this is actually a movie I didn't like this year, and I think the best review I've seen was this was a marketing campaign in search of a movie. and that is Longlegs. I know a lot of people love Longlegs, and it led to Osgood Perkins getting a ton of credit and The Monkey coming out here recently, but the social marketing was incredible for it. The whole like heart rate monitor the first time she sees Longlegs and trying to hide exactly what Nicolas Cage looks like. I didn't even think it was necessarily that creepy, but I was curious what it looked like to where I ended up watching the movie, even though I don't like horror movies. So I got to give a lot of credit to Longlegs. And so the Crown Award for Best Marketing Campaign goes to Longlegs. All right, so on to the genre awards. First off, Best Animated Feature Film. So these are going to be mostly films that get nominated for Oscars, but one honorable mention I do want to throw in there is Ultraman Rising. This is a movie I watched on Netflix. I don't really know a lot about Ultraman in general. I know about Ultraman, but I've never really watched anything. But I thought this was a very well done movie. I thought the animation was really good in it. I thought the voice acting was really good in it, and the story was pretty good in it. So I want to give it some credit here. It's on Netflix if you want to go watch it. I'm going to give Flow an honorable mention, even though there's no talking in it. It is a very good movie and a good story. I'm also going to give Inside Out 2 an honorable mention because while it's not quite as magical as the first one, it still was a very well done sequel, which a lot of times you're kind of curious if a sequel is going to be good or not. This one was. The Silver Crown Award is actually going to go to a Japanese movie that I only really watched because it was short and it was on Amazon, and that is Look Back. I didn't expect a lot from it because I'm not a huge anime fan or manga fan, but I just happened to stumble upon it, and I looked on Letterboxd and saw it was actually one of the highest rated movies on the platform. So I went and watched it, and I fully understand why. It was a very, very good movie. It's only an hour long. Go watch it. It's on Amazon, I think. Go watch Look Back. It's a very good Japanese movie. But the best animated film of the year to me, and this could potentially win the Oscar as well, that is The Wild Robot. The Wild Robot was an incredible film this year. Definitely deserving of winning the Oscar, I think. And just a very good one-off movie there from DreamWorks and Universal. I hope we get some other good one-off stories there from them in the future instead of more Minion movies. So best horror or thriller film. I'm more so using my personal opinion on how these are classified between horror and thriller as opposed to how they're being described. But, I wanted to combine these categories because there's a lot of elements sometimes in like a psychological thriller of horror. There's a lot of thriller elements in horror movies. So I kind of combined them together. So the honorable mentions here, Maxine, I thought was actually pretty good. It's my favorite of the X trilogy. I wasn't a fan of those. Just not a fan of horror movies. So being a slasher movie, I wasn't a big fan. But I actually kind of like Maxine. I think it's more of the 80s vibe of the film that I really liked. Alien Romulus, I actually was surprised by this year. I actually really, really liked it. I didn't like the visual effects of the android in it, trying to throw back to the first movie. But, overall, I thought it was a pretty good film. And I thought David Johnson was an incredible android in this one. And I think he's an actor to watch out for moving forward. And I've already mentioned Nosferatu, but Nosferatu was a very well done movie. The cinematography was great. The acting was great. And definitely deserves a mention here in the top 5. My Silver Crown is not going to be a horror movie. It's going to be more of a romantic and erotic thriller, and that is Love Lies Bleeding, an A24 movie from Rose Glass. It was a really, really solid movie, one of the first movies of the year, one of the first A24 movies as well, but I really like this one. I think it's worth watching. It's a little weird, but it's very much a thriller and belongs in this category. And then the Golden Crown is going to go to I Saw the TV Glow, a horror film from A24 as well. I thought this was a great movie. I thought it was a movie that, once again, it kind of made you think for a while after you left the theater. I mentioned it with the best original song, so it's already won one Golden Crown here this year. But I highly recommend it. It is, it's kind of a tough watch because of the subject matter. It is, very intense in kind of learning your identity, and there's some weird scenes with the show that they're obsessed with, and it's very much reminiscent of like Pete and Pete or Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the kind of the shows we watched back in the 90s on Nickelodeon and the CW or whatever it was back then. I do recommend, go watch I Saw the TV Glow. Next up, best film not in the English language. So some of these movies are nominated and some of these movies are not nominated at the Oscars. I found a couple of gems that I do want to mention here. First off, Flow, that is nominated for best foreign film and best animated film. I'm Still Here is as well and has a good chance to win best international film. I really liked a movie called The Beast, and I actually found this on Letterboxd. I saw a lot of people talking about it. It's a France and Canada movie, and it's mostly in French, but it does have some English in it. But it's a good sci-fi movie. I do recommend it. It's kind of an interesting, weird watch, but I do want to give it an honorable mention here. I mentioned in the animation category, Look Back was a very good Japanese movie, so it does qualify here, just like Flow does. So 2 animated movies here. That gets the Silver Crown Award. And then the Gold Crown Award goes to a movie that, once again, I found on Letterboxd, and that is How to Make Millions Before Grandma Dies. It is a Thai movie that I had never heard of until I saw a lot of people ranking it on their Letterboxd top 10 of the year, and I am 100% on board with people ranking this in their top 10 of the year. It is the best movie. It was nominated, or it was the Thailand nomination for Best International Film. It made the short list, but it did not get nominated. But I really like this. It's a great comedy that also has a lot of feel-good aspects to it. I highly recommend getting this. I don't know that it's available to stream for free anywhere, but even if you just rent it to watch it, I highly recommend How to Make Millions Before Grandma Dies. Next up, Best Action or Science Fiction Film. These are films that are the blockbusters you love to go watch in theaters, and one of those was Furiosa, the prequel to Mad Max Fury Road. I did like Furiosa overall. I thought it was a good movie. I thought Anya Taylor-Joy did a good job there. I also, probably the most fun I had in the theater this year was Bad Boys Ride or Die. It was a really solid movie, and I actually had never seen a Bad Boys movie before it, but I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything. Now, I knew the story of Bad Boys. Obviously, it's very much ingrained in pop culture with Martin Lawrence and Will Smith, but I thought it was a very, very good movie, and it's the most fun I had at the theater this year of any other film. I also very much enjoyed Civil War. I'm going to include it as an action film. There's a lot of good action sequences. It's shot very well. Once again, regardless of what you think about the story, the way the movie looks is incredible. The Silver Crown going to go to Deadpool and Wolverine. I've already mentioned it a lot in this video, and for a reason, it was a good movie, did a good job of kind of getting the MCU back to where it needed to be. And then the best action and science fiction film overall, no shocker here, goes to Dune Part 2. You're going to see Dune Part 2 mentioned a lot in this video. Next up, best comedy or musical. So this is actually comedies and musicals. I'm not just going to lump everything that isn't a hardcore drama into this category like they will at the Golden Globe. So first off, A Real Pain. This is very much a comedy and a drama, but a lot of funny elements to it with Kieran Culkin. I thought Jesse Eisenberg actually was the star of this, not Kieran Culkin. That's not to say anything bad about Kieran Culkin. I just felt like I was watching Roman Roy from Succession the entire time. But Jesse Eisenberg, I hope gets a lot of recognition from this. He's already won a couple of awards for writing the movie, but he wrote, directed, produced, and starred in this, and I think he's the real MVP of this film. Also, My Old Ass, kind of a coming-of-age comedy there with Aubrey Plaza and a bunch of younger actors. I don't even remember their names, but kind of a good coming-of-age, feel-good comedy with a crazy twist at the end that I didn't really see coming. And then Better Man. I've mentioned it before, but I thought it was an incredible musical. I didn't really know a lot about Robbie Williams going in. Even if you don't care about Robbie Williams at all, it's just a good musical to go and watch with some really, really good musical numbers from the same people that did The Greatest Showman. The Silver Crown goes to a movie I just mentioned, How to Make Millions Before Grandma Dies. It's a good comedy. Like I said, it has some feel-good moments in it. But the number one comedy or musical, the Golden Crown, goes to Wicked. Wicked has not been mentioned much so far, but Wicked was the best musical of the year. I really, really liked it, and it was one of my favorite films of the year. I thought they did a great job translating that first act, even though they made it twice as long. They made it as long as the whole play. I thought they did a great job translating the first act to the screen. And finally, in the genre category, best romantic film. So some things could potentially cross over here in the romantic category, but I'm going to give a little love to It Ends With Us. It is a romantic drama that I know has had a lot of bad publicity with the fight between Justin Baldoni, who was in the movie and directed the movie, and Blake Lively, who was in the movie. And of course, Ryan Reynolds involved in that as well, but it still was a very good movie this year and did pretty well at the box office. I'm going to give some credit to Baby Girl, which could have maybe been a little better, but I thought it was a good kind of erotic thriller there. And Nicole Kidman, one of the best actresses of all time, and I thought did a good job. And then Love Lies Bleeding. I mentioned there's going to be some crossover. It is a romantic thriller, so it kind of falls in the romantic and the thriller category. The Silver Crown goes to We Live in Time, a romantic drama starring Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield. It was a really good movie, a good A24 movie, one of my top of the year, and it was a really good romantic film. But I've already mentioned this movie a bunch of times, and the best romantic film goes to the romantic sports drama Challengers, starring Zendaya. I thought it was very good. I think Josh O'Connor is going to be a decent Bond if he's chosen as that. He's actually, I think, the favorite right now if you can go bet on offshore markets to be Bond. And I thought Mike Faist did a really good job as well. All right, on to the featured categories. One thing I want to point out with these categories is that I won't necessarily just pick one person in one role for each category. For instance, in the acting categories, if a person had 2 really good roles, I may rank them ahead of somebody who had just 1 really good role, even if I may rank that single role over any multiple roles a person had. That sounds confusing, you'll see when we get to the category. So basically, if a person had a hell of a year, depending on the roles, I may rank them ahead of others. I also don't break up the lead and supporting actors like I mentioned. I rank just the performances on the year, period. It's become more of a game with some of these movies to campaign for an actor or actress as supporting or lead, strictly based on which one they think they can win easier. I actually think Zoe Saldana was more of a lead actress. I think Ariana Grande was more of a lead actress, but they're in the supporting category. So I'm simply going to award 2 gold crowns and 2 silver crowns for both male and female performances, period. But before we get to that, best voiceover performance. This is something that doesn't get a lot of love when it comes to the Oscars. I know you've seen a lot of play for motion capture performances from Andy Serkis. He also does a good job with voiceover as well. So I do want to give some love to some voiceover performances. So first off, 2 different ones from The Wild Robot. I thought Lupita Nyong'o as Roz, the main character in The Wild Robot, was very good. I also thought Pedro Pascal as Fink was very good. He just missed. He's the first one that just missed getting a crown here. And then Brian Tyree Henry, and Transformers 1 was actually a good movie, but I thought Brian Tyree Henry was the only one that really committed to his voice role. And as he evolved from D16 into the bad guy Megatron, I thought he actually modified his voice and evolved his voice as well. And I thought did a very, very good job in this one. The silver crown I'm going to give to Owen Teague as Noah from Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I thought he did a very good job, but my golden crown is going to go to Maya Hawke, who played Anxiety in Inside Out 2. She very much made that movie. Now, don't get me wrong, Amy Poehler did a good job as Joy. That whole cast continued to do a good job, but I thought Maya Hawke made an excellent addition in that film as Anxiety and wins the Gold Crown Award. Next up, Best Original Screenplay. I'm going to give some honorable mentions here first. My Old Ass, I thought was a very good movie. I mentioned the twist at the end, I think helped push it over the top to get an honorable mention here. I Saw the TV Glow, another really, really good screenplay that kind of gets you thinking. And then Better Man, I thought was a very good screenplay as well. I wish it would have been nominated for an Oscar. It technically is an original screenplay, even though it's based on a true story, but it's not based on like a book or a play or anything. But then the Silver Crown I'm going to give to Challengers. I've already mentioned it multiple times, but Challengers was a very, very good movie this year. And then the Best Original Screenplay, the Golden Crown goes to How to Make Millions Before Grandma Dies. I've mentioned it multiple times before, and it was a very good movie, a very, very good screenplay. I highly recommend it. Next up, Best Adapted Screenplay. So this is something adapted from some kind of other work. I'm going to give an honorable mention to Deadpool and Wolverine, which obviously is adapted from Marvel Comics of Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm going to give a nod here to Conclave. It's the favorite to win the Oscar, and I thought it was a very good screenplay. And then Dune Part 2, I thought was very much adapted from the book very well. The Silver Crown I'm going to give to Wicked. I thought they did a good job bringing the play, to a movie. And even though it was only the first act, they did a good job making it even a standalone movie. We know the Wicked Witch is evil, and it ends with her turning evil. You could just end it right there, and people probably would be satisfied. There's a whole second act of the play, and we're going to get that later this year. But I thought they did a good job of the screenplay there. But my number one screenplay for adapted screenplay that wins the Golden Crown Award goes to Sing Sing. I thought Sing Sing was very good, one of my favorite of the year. And I thought the script, it's adapted from a book. I thought the script was good. I thought the acting was good. Everything about Sing Sing was very, very good. Next up, Best Actors. Once again, no supporting and no lead. It's just the actors. So first off, some honorable mentions. I mentioned Sing Sing, loving that. I thought Clarence Macklin did a very good job in Sing Sing, an actual prisoner from Sing Sing who was a part of the program that is highlighted in the movie. He did an incredible job and very much deserves some recognition. I think he just missed out on being nominated for an Oscar. He probably was that first person out if I had to guess, but did a great job. Somebody who was nominated probably doesn't have a chance to win because we all know Kieran Culkin's going to win, but Jeremy Strong did a great job playing Roy Cohn from The Apprentice. We've seen Roy Cohn on screen before in Angels in America, and I thought Jeremy Strong did a good job here with The Apprentice. I'm also going to give an honorable mention to Andrew Garfield from We Live in Time. He did very good in that movie. He and Florence Pugh both. It's one of my favorite of the year, and it's strictly because of the acting performances from both of those actors, including Andrew Garfield. The Silver Crowns I'm going to give to Ralph Fiennes, who was in Conclave. He also did a movie called The Return this year, but most people are going to think about Conclave. He is nominated for Best Actor from Conclave, and I think he did a great job being the lead actor in a really big ensemble cast. And then my other Silver Crown is going to go to Timothée Chalamet, who was both in Dune and A Complete Unknown as the lead actor. And I think having both of those is what has, vaulted him to winning the SAG Award, and we'll see what happens at the Oscars. But Timothée Chalamet getting my other crown award. Timothée Chalamet in any other year would have gotten a gold crown, no doubt. But I'm going to give my first gold crown award to Sebastian Stan, who did a great job in A Different Man and The Apprentice. The Apprentice is what he's nominated for an Oscar for, but he was nominated for both of these and won a Golden Globe for A Different Man. And then my final Golden Crown award goes to Coleman Domingo, who I think is one of the best actors in the game right now, playing a great role in Sing Sing, one of the only actual actors in that movie, but he did a great job leading that cast and doing a wonderful job telling the story. Now on to Best Actress. So I got to give a couple honorable mentions first. Katie O'Brien, I mentioned Love Lies Bleeding a lot already. Katie O'Brien, I thought did a great job in that as the supporting actress to Kristen Stewart. She also was in Twisters this year as well. Lily Rose Depp from Nosferatu, I mentioned it a couple of times. I thought Lily Rose Depp was the best from that movie in a star-studded cast. She did a great job playing the lead lady in that one. Then June Squibb from Thelma. I thought she did a great job. It was a great feel-good movie. If you have not seen Thelma, I highly recommend it. June Squibb also had a voiceover in Inside Out 2 as well. So for Best Actress, I have to give my first Silver Crown to Ariana Grande. She is in the supporting actress category in the Oscars, but I think honestly she was as much a leading person as Cynthia Erivo was, kind of co-leads in that one, but I thought Ariana Grande as Galinda really made that movie, and she did a good job. The other Silver Crown I'm going to give to Florence Pugh. I mentioned Andrew Garfield as an honorable mention for We Live in Time. Florence Pugh I move up to get a crown because she was also in Dune, so she did a really good job in both of those movies, a much smaller role in Dune, but she still was really good in that and in We Live in Time. My two Golden Crown awards, I'm going to give my first one to Fernanda Torres from I'm Still Here. I thought she made that movie. She did a great job. She fully deserves being nominated for an Oscar. She deserved winning the Golden Globe that she did. I had not seen the movie at the time of the Golden Globes, but I have seen it now, and I think she deserves any accolade she gets. She was very good and helped carry that movie. The kids were also really good in that movie too, but Fernanda Torres really made it. And then my number one Golden Crown goes to Zendaya. I've mentioned both Challengers and Dune a lot of times. She was the lead actress in Challengers, kind of a supporting to Timothée Chalamet in Dune, but a lot bigger role in Dune Part 2 compared to Dune Part 1. And she definitely deserves any and every accolade from this past year. Even though she wasn't nominated for an Oscar, I think she should have been, at least for Challengers, but even for Dune as well. I thought she was great this year. Next up, Best Cast Ensemble. I think, first off, Wicked was a really good ensemble. I mentioned Ariana Grande. In the actress category, Cynthia Erivo was good. Jonathan Bailey was good. It had a really good cast around it. Michelle Yeoh, Jeff Goldblum, Peter Dinklage, a really good cast. Another movie I haven't mentioned yet, but I do think had a really good ensemble. I thought the movie was just okay, but Saturday Night had a really good cast. You had to have a lot of people working together in a good way, and I thought they did that very well. The other cast I have to give is Deadpool and Wolverine. Obviously, a ton of cameos in this one from people we've seen in the past and people we wanted to see in Marvel movies like Channing Tatum. So a lot of good cameos there in Deadpool and Wolverine. And then the Silver Crown is going to go to Conclave. I know Ralph Fiennes is getting a lot of love for this, but Stanley Tucci, John Lithgow, Isabella Rossellini, everybody that played in that movie had a very integral part, and they did a very good job. But the Golden Crown is going to go to, shocker, Dune Part 2. You had to have a good cast there. A lot of people got killed off in the first one, but they replaced them with some other really good members. I thought, Javier Bardem did a really good job in this one. So, Dune Part 2 definitely going to be Best Cast Ensemble there. On top of the main people, a lot of really good secondary actors as well. Now on to Best Director. First, some honorable mentions. Jane Schoenbrunn, I thought, did a great job with I Saw the TV Glow. I've mentioned it a lot of times tonight, writing and directing that one. Edward Berger from Conclave has a chance to win Best Picture. He deserves a nomination, and I thought was one of the best of the year. Luca Guadagnino, I thought, did a great job with both Challengers and Queer, especially Challengers. Queer was all right, not quite as good as I thought it would be. but Challenger is one of my favorite of the year. John M. Chu gets the Silver Crown Award for Wicked. He actually won one of the big awards this year, but was not nominated for an Oscar. And then I think the Golden Crown, who's it going to go to? Oh, wait, shocker. Dune Part 2 gets the Best Director nod for Denis Villeneuve. He is one of my favorite directors, probably my favorite director currently working. Not, quite to like that Spielberg level yet, but it's kind of between Denis Villeneuve and Christopher Nolan right now for the best directors out there. And I know Christopher Nolan won last year. I thought Denis Villeneuve should have been nominated. I think he got snubbed. I think he was the best director this year for Dune Part 2. So moving on to Best Film. So first off, I'm going to give my Gold Crown Awards. I'm going to give the top 5 movies of the year a Golden Crown Award. So first off, we're going to go with Wicked. Number 1 on the year for me. It's a sentimental favorite. I've had a lot of my life tied to Wicked. I've performed songs from Wicked on stage before, and Wicked definitely gets my first Golden Crown of the year. Next up, Sing Sing. I mentioned a lot of the acting performances I really liked in it. I thought it had a really good screenplay. Sing Sing, A24 film there starring Coleman Domingo, gets another Golden Crown Award. Next up, shocker, Dune Part 2 gets a Golden Crown. It's won the most awards of anybody so far. Dune Part 2 definitely belongs in the Golden Crown territory for Best Film. Next up, How to Make Millions Before Grandma Dies. I gave this a couple of nods in the comedy category and the Best International Film category, but it is a really, really solid movie. It's one of the highest rated on Letterboxd for a reason. I highly recommend you go watch How to Make Millions Before Grandma Dies. And then the final Golden Crown Award goes to The Wild Robot, a very good animated film. It was my best animated film of the year. I had some honorable mentions in there for the music and for the voiceover performances. I recommend The Wild Robot. If you have not seen it, go watch it. I believe it's streaming on Peacock. Go watch The Wild Robot. Next up, my Silver Crown winners. 5 Silver Crowns here in Best Film. First up, Challengers. It just missed out on getting a gold crown here, but Challengers is a very, very good movie. Also, Better Man. This is a movie that not a lot of people saw, and I think it's a crime how little money this made at the box office. If you have not seen Better Man, find it on streaming, watch it. The visuals are incredible in it. The acting I thought was really good in it. The music's really good in it. Go watch it. Better Man definitely gets a Silver Crown this year. Also, We Live in Time. I talked about the acting performances of Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh. That definitely put it up to get a Silver Crown here in Best Film. Also, Deadpool and Wolverine. It won a lot of awards as well here in this video, and so I'm going to give a Silver Crown to it. And then finally, the final Silver Crown goes to Conclave, a movie that has a chance to win Best Picture, has won a bunch of awards this award season for a reason. Ralph Fiennes, the whole cast, very, very good in Conclave. My next best movies, the 10 that just missed out, and some of them I've already said, most of them I've already said, but first off, I'm going to go Civil War. It just missed out. The technical aspect of Civil War was so good that it puts it way high up on my list. Also, I saw the TV Glow, another movie I mentioned, just missed the cut. Look Back, the Japanese movie that I mentioned a couple of times for Best Animated Film and Best Film Not in the English Language. Look Back, a very good movie. Only an hour. Go watch it. It's very good. The Beast was a very good movie. The French movie that I mentioned earlier, Inside Out 2, a very good sequel to the original Inside Out. A Different Man. I know Sebastian Stan's getting a lot of love for playing Trump in The Apprentice, but he did win a Golden Globe for A Different Man, and it is a very good movie. Also, shout out to Adam Pearson, who's in this movie and does a great job as well. I'm Still Here. It's a little lower down on my list, but I did really like the movie, a good acting performance and good cinematography in it. My Old Ass, starring Aubrey Plaza, a very good movie that I recommend you go watch. It's a touching movie, but a funny movie as well with a great twist at the end. Love Lies Bleeding, a romantic thriller there with Kristen Stewart, Katie O'Brien, Ed Harris, Dave Franco. It's got a really good cast in it, a good A24 movie there from Rose Glass. And then finally, the last movie on my list is The Apprentice, which Sebastian Stan is nominated for. So those are the first annual PCL Crown Awards. Congrats to all the movies that won. I'm going to do this every year to kind of give my favorite of the year. It's a lot different than the Oscars, but this is my opinion. This is not the Oscars. So if you didn't like something I said, that's your opinion. It's all of our opinions, and I have my opinions, and that's what this is. So make sure to like this video. Make sure to go watch all of our other movie reviews, our TV reviews with The White Lotus, and check our shorts, Out of the Theater reviews, and go check our Awards Buzz videos, our pop culture picks, all the fun stuff here. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to The Pop Cultured Life.